Welcome to the Current Affairs program that brings you news in detail. A look at the stories we have for you this week. It's a double tragedy for pig farmers in Barlaston Park area. First, it was the dreaded swine flu attack, and now acts of thefts and deadly poisoning has left them bewildered. However, the greatest worry is that the poisoned pork is finding its way in the pots of unsuspecting consumers.
And our concern again is these pigs that they steal, they poison the pigs. They steal them and go to sell to our brothers on the markets. They don't care about the lives of people.
Why is it difficult for society to accept former prisoners? Do prisons serve their purpose of providing reformation and correctional services to offenders? What about those who are wrongly imprisoned on account of miscarriage of justice?
I have a right to sue the state for compensation, but I've decided not to sue the state because I wasted a lot of time.
Faustino Muwanga was a 22-year-old youth when he was brought here at Kanakantapa Youth Resettlement Scheme. He was part of the 5,000 other youths who were enticed by the government program aimed at addressing youth unemployment. 26 years later, Mr. Muwanga and his remaining 108 colleagues look back at the whole initiative with a sense of regret.
Like Wakaunda ipo bachiri, Wasata ipo bachiri, iba tulitire kuno. But also kusatura bakofi.
I'm Francesca Piribanda and you're watching The Scoop. Are you a consumer of pork products? Where do you buy your pork from? If you're not careful, you could be consuming poisoned products. Maureen Mwanza inspecting littered dead pigs inside the pen, 14 in total. A big blow for an emerging pig farmer hoping to grow her pork business. The animals have died not from any outbreak of a deadly disease like swine flu, but the pigs have been poisoned by criminals. Thieves stormed Mrs. Mwanza's farm to steal the pigs, but to make their intention easy, the pigs are fed with poisoned feedstock.
6 hours.
Dogs, which are also an obstacle to the thieves' ill intentions, pay the heavy price as well. On this night, 4 dogs that interfered were fed with the poisoned chicken heads, but at least they had already alerted the caretakers, who woke up and prompting the thieves to flee, leaving 14 pigs dead. Quick action by the caretakers saved 4 pigs, which had not yet consumed the poisoned feedstock.
So ndiye kuchoka panja. Choka panja. Iwana chego tiimba ina kuchoka panja ni upuluputa. Tawe ngono yafa. So ine kuona so ndiye kutamangira kuli muzanga amina nkala kujowenza kwensemeza naye. Endo muitana ni siniwana bwe ni bana mukola makumba moja kuli bintu ebishita chongo. So ndiye metwa bwela bonse bavili. No bwela segula kwa kuja. Kuitana itana mayumba kuli bena ngoni mozi shapo. Sulu metwange na muja tupeza ti mununka mankwala. Mununka mankwala meme muja kuona zina kukumbaza mbochosa po kukama. Ambo chita po inango yafa. So manje ndiye kwamba zinja pacha.
De manja kulaunda manje kukola manje nkumba manje. Bopeza tinkumba zina nguzirigone ndiye manje boga manje. Baba tento ni mkatu muka muka vintu sivili bwe. Nikusigula kuma bongera manje mkatu bopeza tinkumba. Zikunyuka zina nguzichosa povu mununga na manghwala zabe yoipa mene ala. Ndiye manje zabuno jamani tambo zichosa manje zina. Tenza sala manje rest zamba kufa zabe. Ndiye kutoka manje paka taembegeza mpaka kwacha manje na vintu manje ando wauza manje ene wake manje.
Barlaston area in Lusaka is not new to these dreaded acts of pig poisoning. These acts have been going on for close to 7 years. The small-scale pig farmers clustered in this area fear the poisoned pork products is being sold to unsuspecting consumers on the open market.
I had lost 6 mothers. These mothers had just farrowed into, they had about 60 piglets, and the piglets were about 2 months old. The thieves came in and stole all the 6 mothers, went away with them. During this time, you know, I gave them medication to try and, improve the status of my pigs. They were on medication, but these pigs were stolen. Later, they came in again. Within the same month, they came to steal 2 porkers and 2 mothers which were pregnant. They left me 1 piglet, 1 mother that was also expecting, and which farrowed the following day after stealing the expectant mothers, and it farrowed 10 piglets. In all, I had about 50 to 6 piglets, which has by now been destroyed. They are dead because I cannot manage to feed them by bottle buying milk to feed the piglets.
The biggest part has been the theft of stock. Our animals, they come in the night, they break the pens, and then they poison the animals so that they don't make noise. Sometimes they carry them live, but that is during the rainy season when it's raining and you can't hear. But when it's a dry season, they come, they poison the animals. At the recent times, they are disemboweling the animals right at the pen and carry the meat.
They stole 2 pregnant pigs on the 27th of August, 2018. And then recently, on Thursday last week, that was on the 30th of January, they stole 5. They just broke the gate, cut the chain and the lock, and they broke the door and went in and took 5 pigs. No, I didn't report, because even if I report, the police don't do anything.
The farmers, most of whom are women, feel they are not being helped by the authorities despite reporting the matter. The only police post in the area is non-operational. This widow has been in the business of selling pigs, but of late, she has been a victim of these thefts that have rocked the area. They can only console each other, not knowing who next is the victim, as the criminals are prowling the area with impunity.
They stole 2 pigs. They slaughtered them just in the pens and got away with the meat. Then of late, it was on 26 December 2012, they stole 5 pregnant pigs and a boar. There were 7 in the pen. They broke the lock and got the pigs.
Meanwhile, a veterinary doctor explains the dangers of consuming poisoned meat.
It may have died on its own, maybe due to a disease that might be zoonotic, that is, that disease might be transmitted from animal to human beings. Or it may be the meat that has been poisoned, and if it was poisoned and the animal died of poisoning, it means even a human being can die of poisoning, which becomes even more dangerous to a human being, because sometimes this poison, we don't know what type of poison, it might be accumulative.
For Mrs. Mwanza, like many of her colleagues, despite the setback, quitting is not an option. She is confident of relaunching her pork business after all her 4 pigs survived the deadly poisoning. President Michael Sata has in the last 2 years of being in office freed more than 2,000 prisoners on presidential pardon. Many other prisoners are discharged through the court processes. However, most ex-prisoners continue to face difficulties to fit in society. We look at 30-year-old Derek Malumo, who was acquitted of the charge of defilement by the Lusaka High Court in December of 2013.
6 years behind bars in the congested Zambian prisons has been a devastating experience for 30-year-old Derrick Malumo. He earned his freedom in December last year through a Lusaka High Court acquittal on a charge of defilement. The lower court had convicted Derrick of the said crime and committed him to the High Court for sentencing.
It was a defilement case which was framed against me. So after being convicted and committed me to the High Court for sentencing, but I appealed against the conviction of the magistrate, which it was unprecedented. Being unprecedented, it was very difficult for me, and I didn't have money to hire a private lawyer. So since I didn't have money to hire a private lawyer, I had to struggle on my own without any resources. But finally, I was called by the High Court, Judge Lengalenga, who confirmed the conviction.
Judge Lengalenga confirmed the
conviction of the subordinate court, but he granted me leave to appeal to the High Court, to the Supreme Court, I mean. So to which I did, I appealed to the Supreme Court. Now in the Supreme Court again, it was discovered that my case had no sentence, though I was a convict. So the Supreme Court...
What do you mean your case had no sentence?
I was not sentenced.
You are not convicted.
Because I appealed against the sentence. So the Supreme Court instead just kept me waiting. They didn't call me to tell me whether my case can be processed in the Supreme Court or what. I just kept on waiting until the prison had to list me for sentencing. They had to put me on session.
Since coming out of prison, fitting into society has not been an easy task. Makes his bedroom, sitting room and kitchen.
This room is 100 kwacha. This is the cheapest because accommodation has become very expensive here in town. So if I fail to find 100 kwacha and I am removed from this room or I am chased by the landlord, that means I'll have no option but to pack and maybe go to the village or somewhere where I'll find accommodation for 10 kwacha. I don't know if that exists. So this is the cheapest. I have to struggle. When it is 20th of each month, I know that 10 days more to go, I'll have to pay rentals.
Mr. Malumo is one of the more than 4,000 ex-prisoners discharged through various interventions, including presidential pardon, in the last 2 years. The last 2 months have been a period of soul-searching and reflecting on what he can do to put his life back on track.
As the people may wish to know, I'm as innocent as any other citizen. It's only that the tag of imprisonment is very difficult to remove. Otherwise, I was acquitted. According to the laws of Zambia, when one is acquitted, he is declared an innocent person. But of course, stigma and discrimination will continue to be there because the neighbors will know that, oh, this person is an ex-prisoner. I don't know how they start looking at me from today, but I have to live with it. And now I'm comforted with the situation that actually everyone is a potential prisoner.
Mr. Malumo has reunited with other ex-prisoners released on presidential pardon, and together they are sharing ideas to form a non-governmental organization.
We want to start providing support to families of prisoners. We also want to create a platform for these ex-prisoners so that they air out their grievances. We want to avoid a situation where this individual released prisoner goes to the media to present a request to the society to say, this is my experience in prison, what I want is this, is empowered today. Another ex-prisoner is released tomorrow, goes to the media. We want to avoid such a situation. So we want to create a platform, an organization that will represent everyone.
When I came out, I couldn't find anywhere to work because of I lost much of the contacts, and also the company in which I was working for, I found that it was closed down. So it was very, very difficult for me to get into the society and integrate and also become like the way I used to be. So it was very difficult. Up to now, I'm still facing these challenges.
When I recently came out of the prison, no one came near me apart from my mom. Others, they used to call me a robber, others they used to call me a thief, just like that. No one had come near me. But I sincerely look to God that God is there for me.
For most of these ex-prisoners, their biggest challenge has been to fit into society. The idea has been well received, and the group urged to continue as a way to stop former prisoners from going back to crime.
For me, it has been a welcome idea, and I believe in my capacity, whatever I can do, we'll be there to support you. And I'm encouraging not only people from here, but starting from here, but everywhere around the country, to also come up and support, because even me or you or the other guy can find ourselves in the same situation. So for me, it's a wake-up call, and I'm encouraged. So we'll be there to support this organization.
Our friends are clustering themselves into groups, cooperatives. This is what the parole board is encouraging, and the external service, Zambia Prison Service. We are trying to do something together to find them some loans so that they are able to start their lives afresh. And I want to appeal that we want to see them. Let them come. We want to help them do a proposal that is sellable, so that we appeal not only here in Zambia, even elsewhere. There are ex-prisoners who have received assistance, 700,000. They have received assistance, 1 million, 2 million, from our friends in Denmark. And Reinberg has assisted. We are so thankful. We want to invite them. Let them come. We want to work together. Don't work in isolation. We want to work together. Wherever you are, if you are 5 in Kasempa, in Rundazi, sit down, write us a concept. We will develop it. And we will go even to the very government officials to help us, and members of parliament in these districts. We want them to adopt such so that they benefit from the constituents fund.
5,000 youths resettled at Kanakantapa Youth Resettlement Scheme in government's Youth Empowerment Program. That was a big headline news back in April of 1988 in a country where youth unemployment has been on the upswing. Now, 26 years later, today, a research carried out by the Association for Land Development reveals the program was ill-conceived.
Faustino Mubanga was a 23-year-old youth full of life in 1988 when the United National Independence Party UNIP government brought him here at Kanakantapa Resettlement Scheme. Government was establishing the resettlement scheme to address high youth unemployment, reduce rural-urban drift, and to speed up rural development. Promises of incentives to the unemployed youths willing to be resettled was too good to resist. On April 28, 1988, 5,000 youths, among them Faustino Mubanga and his wife, were recruited from urban areas and resettled at the newly opened Kanakantapa Resettlement Scheme. 26 years later, Mr. Mubanga looks back at the whole government initiative with disappointment and regret, wondering why he fell for the promises of a good life that was never to be.
Like Wakaunda epo bachiri, Wasata epo bachiri, eba tulitire kuno. But also kwisatula bakofi. Tukuline tepalifuna sekera mwandini. Kuchula pesana patunda yafe mbona uraba nandi kulusaka bekala kulusaka bali chana ile fonde chula. Bali cha develop manengi. Government ayiko nkafira yatwebere.
Out of the initial 5,000 youths who were brought here after undergoing Zambia National Service ZNS training, only 109 are still here, and this is according to a research conducted by the Association for Land Development late last year.
Some of the main reasons that the settlers presented were that they did not really have productive assets to be engaged in agriculture or other means of livelihood on the land. Of course, they were promised things like inputs, free title deeds to their land, and many other things, some of which have not been fulfilled. So, as they stayed there, they continued to be in cycle of poverty, and because most of them were not really from agricultural backgrounds, they came from towns. So
Kanakantapa Early Settlers Association chairperson Emmanuel Temenwe remembers vividly what government promised them.
The day of our departure was a ceremonial departure. Zambia Army, Zambia National Service were there. Government officials and government ministers also were there. Mr. Sata, who is our current president, was a spokesperson over youth resettlement program. Mr. Sata himself told us that, gentlemen, we want you to start a new life in farming. So we are taking you to Kanakantapa. There we are going to give you 4-hectare plots with the title deeds. Government will provide you fertilizer for the first season. Second, small-scale skills will be taught. 2-roomed houses will be built for you. And it was very much exciting to we, the youths of those days. We said, if the government can do that for me, for sure, can I fail to develop? Yes, we joined this program. That's how we came up to join this program.
The settlers, however, still hold on to one promise out of the many that government made, and that is to be given title deeds for their 4 hectares farms. They fear unless their farms are secured with title deeds, they are as good as squatters. With the change of government in 1991, 2 years later, the resettlement scheme was opened up to resettle retirees as well.
Number 1, title deed. Basa tupere mpanga no tupere chipepa. Ilo chitakulia barestisha mafamu ama government yale chinja. Bambi bagesa tufunya kufika tini mbwero nalipusha ama yezi nabana nabafyalira kuno. No kotena kotera kuno. No mbanka ya kwisa.
Mwandi nipempa kwa chabe atipasa kwa chabe chipepa title deed nyame tufuna kwa maningi. Olovosa wesa atipasa bayati laira munoweka ndi amaziwa.
Mpo yatu yaikuru maningi ni title deed. Boma pamene natubweresa kuchoka ku civic center inatuza kuti vonse ni fokonzetwa kudala kuji. So kufika mfantauzi no wakamba kuti ati title deed mpereke ndalama about 4 million. Manje 4 million yanilipe kwa ipeza.
Era kuno chilibe chili chonse. Mwaona. So kuti tipeze kutandiziriwa kuti tizisebenzesa tisunge bana batu buno bwino kulibe gonse bitivuta. Pano takula manje pamene tili na bana amene baphunzira maskulu kulibe bali nkale abo kulibe na drama zakuti bangaendele ku maskulu kulibe matandizo kulima niko waya sitikwanisira kuti tingaphunzise bana batu.
If the government gave us title deeds, it could have been a success, because sometimes we could have that access of going to the banks and get some loans. We start utilizing our farms. When the retirees came in, now our friends started approaching them to say, don't you have a friend who can buy a farm? So they were accepting to, hey, gentlemen, in fact, you are just wasting your time. Just sell your farms and you go back and do other things in town.
Nelson Mnube is country coordinator at People's Process on Housing and Poverty in Zambia. He notes the need for wider consultation and involvement of people in programs intended to benefit them.
Any policy that seeks to relocate people needs to comprehensively engage people and seek their views, their feelings, before uprooting people to any place, be it deemed fertile land or conducive land. There is need for people who are going to live in those pieces of land, or to be given any piece of land, to be involved in the process. In the past, we have noticed, and not only in Zambia, where government thinks and plans for people without the people. And what usually happens when such relocations happen, people stay there in those pieces of land for not even more than a year. They will either sell the land and move on to continue squatting. The Kanakantapa resettlement scheme that was implemented by then the President of Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, is a classical example of what can go wrong when top-down approaches to relocations or resettlements are done. The government then took people who were roaming in the streets of Lusaka and thought it was a good idea to go and relocate them to Kanakantamba. And from the 5,000 people that were relocated or were resettled in Kanakantamba up to date, our research has indicated that only 106 people have remained, which is almost 95% failure rate.
Government on its part is looking at best ways to ensure resettlement schemes serve the intended purpose.
Our advice to government, and we are happy that the patriotic government currently seeks to engage people, seeks to engage civil society in their work. Hence, we are hoping that any future resettlements or relocations will be done by thoroughly discussing with people and engaging them, finding out what's the best alternative way of relocating people. And also, an issue of saying a comprehensive strategy should be done before people are relocated. The Kanakantamba case was a case where the cart was put before the horses.
Settlers have land as one of their basic assets. You and me know that land today, although Zambia has less population and vast land, in a place like Lusaka it is still of very high value. So if they can use it productively, I think they'll be able to survive, but they need to be held by the hand and to be assisted to change the mindset and to work very hard.
Back at the resettlement scheme, uncertainty remains high, as the 109 former youths still here wonder what the future holds for them.
Nga kutina kwato ubwafuirisho ubwakwawe batina kwata famu yaba mumino yandi mwakwe batina kwata ko rich pepe cha famu kutina landa tini kwato ubwikaro ubwakwe bati abana bandina bena uti basekera mu feed nomba pateti kwati kuma famu ya tatwa kwata po FPP filifionse to abafe fino fin so nombe fe turero mba ko fe kwati ne utina lira ko fe okunga fuirisho kwata fe taito didi pa famu padi olona fa ine uno tanda ti abana bandi bakashara bachitashani baikalo omutende pantuna bakwato po benge kala pa bwikalo bwabo.
We are still suffering, whereby we can end up also selling our farms if this thing can continue. It's not a success. If it was a success anyway, this program could have been continued. Other youths, the government could have recruited another youth somewhere.
The proverb of the week says, a shepherd does not strike his sheep. The proverb again says, a shepherd does not strike his sheep. It is now time for the question, the current affairs question of the week. And this week we're asking, who is the deputy mayor for Lusaka? The question is, who is the deputy mayor for Lusaka? Let's take a look at some of the answers we got.
I'm too sure on that one.
But I don't have any idea, madam.
I think it's Mulenga Sata.
I don't know exactly. Maybe you can ask me another question, maybe.
Well, the deputy mayor for Lusaka is Mulenga Sata. Remember, don't be caught unawares. Make sure that you get in touch with what's happening in the current affairs world by watching Movie TV News and, of course, The Scoop. Well, on behalf of the entire Scoop team, that's where we come to the end of the program. Thank you so much for the pleasure of your company. Till next week at the same time, have a lovely week.